Hello YouTubers, welcome to the Gentle Flow of Madness, and welcome to my ASMR vlog, where you get to hear about me vent about the nerdy things that run through my mind. So, recently I've been really digging into TTRPGs and TRPGs. More so than usual. I've always been like this huge tabletop role-playing kind of individual who is really into them, and that's always just been a thing for me. That's always just been something I've been heavily into. It's always been a habit. It's always been something I find really fun. Now, with that being said, you might have noticed me saying TTRPGs for tabletop RPGs, but what about TRPGs? Well, TRPGs is pretty much a exchangeable matter. It still means tabletop role-playing games. It's just in Japan, they use TRPGs and they call them tabletop role-playing game. Now, while these phrases are interchangeable, they mean the same thing. It's not exactly a one-for-one comparison for RPGs and JRPGs. It's nothing like that. I mean, it's like that, but not to the extent that RPGs and JRPGs are at. But I'm gonna use them as like TTRPGs for RPGs, like Western styled are tabletop games, and I'm gonna use TRPGs for JRPGs. More of that Japanese style, Asian style type of feel to it, that Eastern kind of energy to it, and that's how I'm gonna refer to them. But that is what I'm saying is not the kind of correct kind of referring to of them. They don't really technically mean that. They're not like as strict as JRPGs and RPGs are. I'm just using them for a matter of, understandability, making a point to kind of move things along a little bit faster. So with the explanation and lore dump, not lore dump, but explanation and exploration kind of done and over with, let's kind of get into this little topic real quick. So I've been really diving into TTRPGs and TRPGs and the differentiating factors between the two. The reason being is because recently I've heard about a game called Sword World, and trying to find any information on it was very much difficult until I started using TRPGs as the kind of search word for it. And when I started doing that, I found a lot of other Japanese games like Ritoma, which is a Japanese game that's been translated to English, and it's just really chill, really common. Any kind of Japanese type game translated, I find have a lot of similarities to each other, and I find that they have a certain type of energy, and it really does feel like the differentiated from RPG and JRPG, and that was pretty cool to me. And I was just looking into these systems. Yeah, deep dive, a lot of interesting systems that I have never seen before, and this was a gold mine to me. So I really just kind of went in there, went off of it, and was really just trying to really dive into the rabbit hole. Wander Home is another RPG that I kind of found out about. TTRPG. I'm confusing myself. Anyways, Wander Home is another one that I went on, looked into. A non-combative kind of traveling fantasy nature fantasy type of TTRPG, type of tabletop game. It's really chill, really calming, very much that kind of, hey, relax, ASMR kind of atmosphere. And it made me really start thinking, I want to run a game, a campaign of some type of nature, just very chill, very relaxing, very calming type of game, completely in the kind of ASMR style, the very calm style, relaxing music, soft noises, things that cause people to relax, but this entire storyline of just, hey everyone, and this kind of just relaxed atmosphere built around it is built to be relaxing and calming to not just the players but to the audience that watch it, which is something I think would be pretty cool. But when even sometimes you have an idea that you think is absolutely extraordinary, absolutely amazing, absolutely fantastic, and no one really agrees with you. Sometimes it doesn't hit as hard as you think it will, but that's not going to stop me from trying. It is probably going to slow me down a little bit, because for me to actually do this, I would need to find other players who are interested in this and have that kind of relaxed energy, and who are very much already into, ASMR, have that kind of will to be in the ASMR community, and are trying to build themselves up in the ASMR community. Now, because I am brand new, I don't have a following yet, I don't have a subscriber base yet, that's not going to be easy. I'm going to look for people who are around my level, or people who are just interested in me as a ASMR individual and as a host for TTRPG. Now, well, this was what I was thinking at first when I was reading Wanderhome, and put it on the side for when I'm actually able to find the people that I'm looking for to kind of run a campaign of this nature. And during my whole kind of deep dive into the TRPG world and re-looking to the TTRPG kind of settings, I kind of realized there's a lot of solo games, a lot of solo solo TTRPGs, a lot of solo kind of adventures that are meant to be, run solo, you run them yourself for yourself, and they're very interesting concept. And I thought, would it still be interesting? Would it be cool to just do a more solo RPG? Yeah, I kind of gave up on adding a TTRPG kind of thing. More solo RPG within the setting, within this atmosphere. Just go through a choice-based story, a choice adventure story, as a ASMR setup. Now, I realized, it would still be a very relaxing thing. You're still having that adventure and thing, and it would also kind of set me up as a storyteller, and would set up what kind of atmospheres I can build up as a host for TTRPG games, Now, this means I'm gonna actually have to pick one, and there is a whole list of just extraordinary, amazing solo TTRPGs out there. So that might be a very difficult and hard decision, but we'll get through that decision. We'll figure it out. Now, if you guys have any kind of recommendations of TTRPGs or solo games that you would like to see me play, would like to hear in my voice, would like to hear me just kind of read off, calm, chill, relax, and kind of go through my relaxing traveling journeys and that, and leave a comment below. Tell me a TTRPG you're oh, try out this one, it's really cool, really calming, and I would love to have an ASMR version of it, So, yeah, give me some suggestions on the comments or something like that. Now, during my adventures, my travel, my search, my deep dive into the web, right, I found a couple of other things. And one other thing that I really found that had me, two other things that I really found that had me super excited, but one other thing, because I'm talking about this first, is I found a game called Fabula Ultima, or something like that. Currently it's a Italian game, and it's being translated to English, but they already released like a quick play of the English version, like a scenario for beginners to play through and get it like better understanding of the game. Though it doesn't have all the classes and like character creation, it's not the full game, but it does let you play this kind of module that is very much designed to like get beginners up to speed super quick. And it has this very JRPG kind of feel. It's this very JRPG kind of focus. In fact, looking up this game, I found out in Italian, the name essentially means Final Fantasy, which is super cool, because I'm a big Final Fantasy fan. I love JRPGs. Comparing JRPGs and RPGs, JRPGs would be my favorite. They would always get top marks. They're this kind of thing where I'm just like, yo, I want to put all my time into like JRPGs when it comes to games. Oh man, I'm so sorry for that little outburst. I wasn't expecting my laugh to carry out so much air, and I am sorry. I apologize. Hopefully I can kind of fix it in like post-production, but if I can't, I apologize so much. I'm so sorry. Anyways, yeah, this Final Fantasy kind of energy. And through my adventure, I found a lot of Western TTRPGs that kind of have more of a Eastern vibe to them, kind of emulate JRPGs with that kind of focus. And while they don't come from the Eastern kind of post, I feel like they would still be considered more Eastern style, you know? They have a more Eastern style of approach to it, despite being a Western kind of thing, a Western TTRPG formulated in like Western culture, but emulated Eastern culture, which I found really interesting and kind of cool. And it has me curious, not really curious, and more like intrigued. It has me intrigued of whether or not there are examples of this in video games, where you have a Western game, like a Western RPG that's emulating Eastern RPGs, emulating the Eastern vibes, you know? Now, with that being said, if any of you actually know of any of these games, because I certainly do not know a single one of these games, leave a comment, tell me about them, where I can find them, how you discover them, you know, just give me some information, and I would be really thankful for that. So, yeah, I found a couple of really interesting things, really cool games, a few games that really kind of stood out. Another one is City of Mist is currently working on another new TRPG that's more of a cyberpunk mythic cyberpunk kind of thing, which is cool and all, and it's more of a more cyberpunky kind of version of Final Fantasy, which is a techno fantasy. So it's kind of going between like techno fantasy and mytho fantasy, mytho cyberpunk, you know, mythic cyberpunk. And mythic cyberpunk and techno fantasy have this like really hard relation. Like they relate to each other and synchronize pretty well. So I figure once this game comes out, I can probably play it more as a techno fantasy, you know? These are some of the more name brands with like studios behind them, games that I'm super excited for. Both of them coming out, neither of them are out yet. But I also found a couple of other games that I'm like, oh, these are very interesting. And they're more of an indie, kind of games, not like made by individuals or small studios or things like that, which is like old stylish, which is for the old school essential kind of book, is a modifier that makes it more of this kind of JRPG kind of setting, where, you know, where, instead of just like having one class, you can have multiple classes and you can switch out your class. And it has this system where you can like create classes for the system for people to kind of pick up. And it does remind me of like something like Final Fantasy IV, and the reason I'm using Final Fantasy, while there are so many other fantastic, wonderful games, even in just Square Enix alone, is because I feel like Final Fantasy is pretty much the most well-known JRPG out there right now, other than Pokemon. And Pokemon is a pretty fantastic, amazing JRPG, at least in the fact that it is able to stand amongst giants by itself, and that's pretty cool. But for right now, Pokemon is not the game that I'm like the JRPG energy and mechanics that I'm trying to refer to, though evolution in Pokemon is a really cool mechanic, and I really wish there were more games where like evolution, or what I'm calling it, advancements, were more readily available, like evolving from a knight to a magic knight and having them pick between knight, magic knight, dark knight, paladin kind of thing, which I think would be a really cool system in a JRPG, but they haven't really applied it very much in most of the games I've played. They did kind of do it, and what's it called? Final Fantasy, I can't remember the newest one, Stranger's Paradise, I believe it's called. So that's one that they kind of do that kind of method, and I think it's really cool. I love advancement type things, so Pokemon does have that kind of advancement thing when it comes through, evolution. Now, back to what I was saying is that Old Stylish has this very reminiscent of Final Fantasy IV kind of vibe to it. Then we have OVA, which is trying to capture like anime into a tabletop RPG, which makes it feel like more of an anime type game. It's not really a JRPG, but some of the things in it makes it feel like a JRPG despite being a universal system for any kind of setting. It does have this kind of feel that's more of this JRPG kind of energy to it. It's very simple despite having a number of lots of pages, but it is very quick to pick up. Two other really interesting things, while they don't necessarily fit into the whole JRPG kind of setting and setup, is Omni Myth, which is a really cool system where, man, I'm stumbling and I am so sorry, guys. I will work on my clarity in future videos, and if you have any tips, tricks, and how to work on my clarity, you can leave a comment below, tell me some cool tricks, tell me how you figured it out, and I would genuinely appreciate that. But back to what I was saying after stalling a little bit while I'm trying to compose my thoughts. Omni Myth, it's a really cool system because it has a number of ability kind of combinations to create unique abilities for your character, and it's over like 5 billion or something like that. Different combinations to make unique abilities for your character, and I find that really cool. I find that really amazing. It's more like the magic crafting system of something like Magicka, or something like Magicka, where you're combining a number of different things to get certain types of effects, or the old Oblivion magic system, I believe it was, first Elder Scrolls, which was really cool. So it kind of feels like that in some ways. Not only that, they have a website that you can go to the and just get a randomly generated character. I haven't found an online sheet yet, but I'm kind of looking for it. I'm looking for a cool little online sheet to use. But yeah, they have a cool little generator. You put it up, it creates a character for you that's very much unique in its own right. Actually, one of the reasons I really wanted to pick it up was because I went to that generator, I rolled it up, and it kind of just gave me a summoner. a certain type of summoner. And for those of you who don't know, which is basically all of you, I love summoners classes. Summoner classes are my favorite. Not just summoners, I'm putting summoners, tamers, and puppeteers in the same kind of branch. Anyone who has more of a minion type relationship kind of thing. So, like dolls and controlling dolls, taming animals, or summoning creatures to fight for you. I find that really cool, really amazing, and it's probably why I love so many tactical RPGs where you have this legion and you're collecting more allies, which would get me into a completely different conversation about my mobile habits lately, but that's a conversation for a completely different video. So yeah, Omni-Myth is just this really unique game where you can just get a lot of unique things out of it and cool abilities and really kind of customize your characters a lot more freely than you would other games. But not by just spending points like you would in something like GURPS or Mutants and Masterminds or EBA or, some of those kind of games. One last game I would really like to just throw out there is a game called Under the Neighborhood. It's a really cool looking, fantastic game. I played the demos a couple of times, played through the demo a couple of times. It's this TTRPG that not really emulating JRPGs, instead what it is emulating, and I know not JRPGs, but this kind of conversation has been mostly about JRPGs and TTRPGs that emulate it and TRPGs that feel like it, but this is an outlier and it's just really cool, and I really wanted to throw a mention for it. But Under the Neighborhood, it has this feel that's more reminiscent of Gravity Falls, Star vs. the Forces of Evil, Owl House, Amphibia, and Craig of the Creek, those type of shows where you have those kind of kids going into a magical, fantastical world, and those Saturday night cartoons. And while they didn't directly state it, I would even put that with Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy and Courage the Cowardly Dog. These kind of mundane kind of situations getting changed and switched up to these fantastical situations. And even things that aren't necessarily like that, like Adventure Time, where it was always a fantastical world, but that energy it kind of gives is very similar to Owl House. And this game really aims to portray that, create that type of energy, create that type of atmosphere, and it's super cool, super amazing, and I think it's very much worth a read. At least worth downloading a demo of it. It's a cool game. So anyways, that's everything I have to say for today. That's all I have for today. All the information, all the things that are kind of running through my mind right now, that's all uniform with each other, all the information that's similar to each other and make one coherent thought, even though it wasn't that coherent, because a little bit of madness is in me. Anyways, I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and remember everyone, vibe with the chaos.